of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no case enter in to the kingdom of heaven. Now the scribes and the Pharisees represented the respectable people of their day, did they not? And it's quite obvious that Jesus was not pleased with their kind of goodness either, because they were operating on the margin. They didn't have any reserve of goodness, no reserve of mercy, no reserve of long-suffering. But we as a people of God, we have to be long-suffering. You hear me today? We have to be kind. We have to be loving and forbearing. We need to get off of the margin and get a little bit more of this in our lives. So they operated here on the margin. Because Jesus was letting them know that if you only love them which love you, what reward do you have? The world does that, doesn't it? The world loves its own, does it not? Yes. And not only does the world love its own, but the world has unity. And the church needs to learn unity. Because in unity, you have strength. If the world has something going on and they want to get it over, they're going to get it over. Why? Because they're united. Church, I've never seen such a day and the time that we're living in that God's people are so separated and apart from one another. All right. We need to get ourselves together, honey. Yes. Get ourselves united with one mind and one accord, with one ambition to get God's program over. So this is what Jesus was trying to tell them in these scriptures here. You don't just love your own, but you love others also. He said, don't do just like the publicans do, but you got to do a little bit more. Church, we got to do a little bit more. Well, a little bit more now. Look at Matthew 5 in that same chapter and drop down to about the 46 and the 47 verses. And let's see here now. See, here's an average goodness, and Jesus disliked it. He hates mediocrity. In religion. I'm talking about in religion now. The law was a minimum requirement, wasn't it? Now, if people today respect the civil law at all, don't you know there ought to be some kind of a maximum expectation when we get in the house of God. Also, have respect in here. I've never lived, as I said, I've been on the evangelistic field for 60-some years. But let me tell you this one thing. I have never seen such rebellion as I see in this day and age and time. It's on the job. It's out there in the workforce. But I'm here also to tell you it's in the church. Rebellion. Don't want to follow leadership. But God has always had leaders set up that the church could prevail and go forward and do the will of God. So we have to learn to come under leadership also. We're living in this day, children are rebellious. They don't mind to walk up and slap their mother and father. But I can grant you one thing. If we ever done that, we'd be getting up off the floor somewhere. But you see, in this day and age, the government or the city, the state, whatever you want to call it, they've taken away our privilege of correcting our children. So that's why we have to build more prisons and bigger prisons because our privilege has been taken